Welcome to another episode of Everybody's Got Something. I'm your host, Seth Hoffman. Today on the show we have Bruce Bush, Bruce Mandu, teacher, helper, facilitator, and Oscar Butler, performing songwriter. Let's get into it. Let's have a great time. I am so glad to be here. Bruce,
me too, Seth. Thank you for having me.
It is a pleasure. It's so good to see you always, but it's especially a treat to get to actually kind of hear your story, hear your journey, and learn a little bit more about you.
I'd be willing to talk about that for sure. Yep.
Great.
I want to share some ideas that I have, some things that I've experienced in this long life. Like Oscar, I'm surprised that I've made it, and I have to now experience old age.
But you're doing it so gracefully. We should all be so.
Well, thank you
blessed.
kindly. Thank you kindly. Sometimes it doesn't seem that way, but I like to hear that.
Yeah.
Yep. I've had a real blessed life.
Tell us. Let's start from the beginning.
Well, of course, I had really great parents who always supported me and loved me and showed me that I was worthy, but always, kept me kind of in my place so that I wouldn't get too out of hand or have too big of an ego. And I learned so much from them. And then among the first things that I can remember that I still use all the time, my father taught me how to use hand tools.
Wow.
And let me help him with a lot of things. And now some things like when I was a little too young to use oil paints and help paint the house, I ended up having a horrible experience, being whitewashed in turpentine.
Ooh.
In those days, I guess I hadn't quite figured out. I must have been 5.
Wow.
At that time, yeah. And I remember it vividly. And then it happened again on my great-grandfather's farm. I remember being coated in red barn paint and having turpentine again. Turpentine burns when you get it off.
And how many years later was that? Hopefully.
Oh, that was only like another year later.
Okay, I thought it was like maybe every 30 years this will happen. So I think it's all these are all in the past.
I was still a little kid at that time.
Wow.
I don't even think my youngest brother was even born then.
Goodness.
But I want to share with people some of my experience that I don't have to use turpentine anymore. You can use salad oil to get oil paint off yourself.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's true. It works great because, basically the oil dilutes it.
Okay.
So you use one application and then you wipe it all off with paper towels or rags that you want to throw out. And then you do it again, and typically by the second time you wipe it off, then you just use soap and water, and you're clean and no pain.
All right, hopefully if someone's watching this show right now and they're like, what to do? They're like, Bruce, you saved me.
Right.
Well, what a good thing
some
to know.
people still use oil paints, and that's good for certain things.
Yeah, well, my uncle, he's a painter. He paints all. Yeah.
Well, I love those little things that I picked up along the way, and that I could pass on and help people with.
So you said you had good parents. Did you always appreciate them? Sometimes it takes people till they're older to say, my parents weren't so bad. Did you always know that, or what was it like for you? I kind of
did, because we had aunts and uncles who were really like their old friends, who we called aunt and uncle. And, I remember one set of friends that they had. My mother met at the hospital when I was being born, and her kid was basically the same age. Was born within a couple days we were born within a couple days of each other. And then other children that they had were born around the same time, because people were busy having kids in those days.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I was born in 1952, so that gives you some idea of the age we're talking about, when Truman was president.
Yeah, I think that was Mickey Mantle's rookie year, maybe, something like that.
And another vivid childhood memory is I remembered learning what my parents meant when they said, "You laugh too hard, you cry."
Oh, what a beautiful lesson.
And that was a bunch of us kids, again with the aunts and uncles who had kids about the same age, and we decided we'd play in the basement with the lights off. And we were just like having such a good time running around. We were like screaming, we were having so much fun, and then bam, somebody bumps into one of those big metal poles that was holding up our floor joists, Yes. And they had a big lump on their head. We had to put ice on it, and I felt so bad, because I was supposed to know better.
Right. Well, we're always supposed to know better.
And where was this? 7 years old.
And where in the world was
this? Was in a suburb
world?
Of Cleveland. At that time, it was actually a semi-rural suburb called North Royalton.
Okay.
And it was semi-rural because they took all these sections. You know what a section of land is? It's a mile by a mile.
Okay.
And that's the way this town was. In the old days, it was all farms.
Yeah.
And then they started to develop it, and they took sections, and they just put houses around the outside edge. So all the kids had a square mile of land to play in.
Wow.
And that was another one of the most fabulous things about my childhood, was that we each got to experience nature. Wow. And in those days, there was no helicopter parenting,
Right.
We'd say bye, after breakfast, and maybe come home for lunch, and then have to be home for dinner.
Yeah, but somehow
but otherwise, we were out all
Yeah.
day. Yeah, not only that, we thrived,
Wow.
learned all kinds of things. Our little acreage had 2 little ponds on it, and we got to do fishing whenever we wanted. And then we'd cross the street, and we'd go into these other friends, section, and they had old orchards. Okay. So we'd not only get to eat the fruit, but when it was not ripe, we would have these fights with the unripe pears and apples and stuff.
Wow, what a childhood.
It was fun. It was fun. And occasionally somebody would fall out of a tree and break an arm or something, but everybody survived. And that was pretty cool.
Or took an apple to the ear or something like that.
Something like that.
Wow.
And then I went to public school and had a wonderful experience there because we had a lot of support. In those days it was all local bond issues floated the school, and our community happened to really be good about supporting that. So we had a fine public school. Wow. And then I went to catechism, the Catholic programming, at night. And I remember one day in October 1962, in the height of the Cuban Missile Crisis, when they shut down the catechism class after, I guess, Kennedy had addressed the nation and warned us that we were on the verge of nuclear war or whatever.
Wow.
And all the parents came to collect us.
Oh my
and we ended up spending the night in our basement, as if that would have helped much, So that's a childhood memories that stuck with me.
Wow. And so then how long were you in this very sweet town and outside of
I stayed there till I moved to basically, as a college student. I went to Minnesota, St. Paul, Minnesota, and that was the farthest west I had ever been at that time. So I didn't even know about green chili or anything until one of my friends at the school asked if I wanted to hitchhike down to Albuquerque and meet his folks and stay with him and meet his friends.
How old were you at this? This was like you were
this was
20 years old or something?
The beginning of my
university?
Sophomore year, well, February of my sophomore year.
Okay, so maybe 19 something. So a young man then?
Yeah, so it was like 71.
Okay.
Or maybe it was February of 72.
Okay, and then
the first time I came down here, and I fell in love with it.
Wow.
Yeah. I fell in love with the people. I fell in love with the Rio Grande mud. We were playing in the quicksand,
Yeah.
I fell in love with the 3-finger lids for $10, what those were. And we just had a great time.
Wow.
And so it was a very positive kind of
experience. And did you imagine yourself, I'm going to live here? This will be home one day?
Well, I felt like, why not? And then basically as soon as I could, which means basically dropping out of college the next year, as soon as I could choose where I wanted to live, I chose to be in New Mexico. Mm-hmm. And so from basically 19 on, I was in New Mexico for about 35 years.
And tell us about what did you do when you
Well,
got here?
One thing that happened pretty quickly after I moved to New Mexico is I fell in love with somebody who became my partner for 35 years.
So that was all the way back then?
Yes. Yeah, all the way back then.
And where did you meet, if you care?
In Albuquerque, at a friend's house.
Okay.
And it was like a revelation for both of us. I mean, neither of us had come out.
Okay.
And he turned out to be just a fabulous person. And when we moved much later, after years and years in New Mexico, to be with my parents to help them out when they were aged, they treated him just like a son. They called him son. And he was fine with it, but we made the mistake of moving to them instead of having the parents move to us.
Yes.
And I advise, if I'm going to give any advice as an old person, for people who want to help their parents and be with them and give them a lot more help, be with them if they're out of state, get them to move to you, because they're probably living in air conditioning 24/7. Maybe most of their friends are gone. It doesn't hardly matter what city they're in. But for you to uproot as we did and lose our support system, and then of course we moved to the South. We moved to North Carolina, beautiful state, beautiful people, but culturally and politically it was really basically a shock to our system. And we wanted to move back to New Mexico almost immediately, and we had sold everything, and so I really was very
Okay, so good life lesson
fortunate to get back
convince-
here.
I think that, especially in a wonderful place like New Mexico, say, come on, it's a good place to be.
Yes, really.
Well, that is good advice.
And I
That's
made
good advice.
like 20 trips cross country back and forth because we moved to Hickory, which is on I-40. Albuquerque, of course, is on I-40.
Yes.
And I know I-40 really well. So
Yes, and I was fortunate to get to
been
see
my
you on
life.
some of your visits.
yes,
when you
and
come
thank you. You hosted me, so I could
Yeah.
afford to do that
Yeah,
kind of
so-
stuff. And my little dog. Dogs have
Oh.
always been real important to us and our family.
back. Yes.
And little Pugsley.
Yes.
I got to
I remember
enjoyed
that
your
sweet
hospitality
dog.
as much
Such
as
a
I
sweet,
did.
Sweet puppy. So in addition to being probably one of the most wonderful dog owners that the world's known, you have many other skills that
Well-
you have learned and shared with folks over the years.
I have
Why don't you
tried.
talk about some of your very humble. Why don't you could share about some of
Well,
the.
I taught electronics for 25 years at TVI, which then turned into CNM, and that was a wonderful career to have. And of course, I enjoyed, communicating and seeing people come from wondering what in the heck they were going to do
Yeah.
to going out and having a job. They could really support themselves and their families,
Yeah.
and that was very rewarding. And
And out of curiosity, how did you gravitate towards
Well,
electronics?
actually, I had always had an interest in electronics and music,
Mm-hmm.
and I was kind of self-taught on piano and had just kind of been messing around and got to know some musicians. Ended up kind of becoming their fix-it guy, their tech, without having a real background in it. So then when I got to study electronics at TVI, I just was like fish in water, whatever,
Wow.
and. So I was able then to complete my degree for TVI. I was hired on right after I got a job as a technician, a laboratory technician at TVI. Then I was able to complete my degree, and I've taught there and ended up being really a program chair for a while. Wow. But I always wanted to go back to the classroom. Whenever they'd assign me on something that was more like administrative, I always really wanted more of the contact with the students, and that's what I was there for, you know.
And what, for any of the aspiring teachers or current teachers, what makes a good teacher, in your opinion?
Well, you have to pay attention to your students, and you basically have to meet them at their level. And that was sometimes difficult because I had a huge range of people with capabilities coming to me. Some were right out of high school, but most people at TVI in those days had a little bit of life experience. So they kind of knew why they were there, and we didn't have really a lot of behavioral problems like high school teachers have to deal with. So that was nice. And I have lots of stories I could tell about TVI and about teaching. But I really think the thing that teachers have to be is inspiring.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing that was obvious that I knew from my own education and from being fairly close to my own training when I started teaching was that one of the primary things that lets people learn, that makes education successful or lets education be successful, is motivation.
Yeah.
If you're interested in it, if you're engaged in it, if that's something that you love, you're going to be able to learn. You're going to want to learn. And people who just ended up, like in my last couple of years, it was more like kids out of high school who just wanted to check off the box that they were there, and then otherwise, chewing gum or looking at the phone.
Yeah.
And so that was a little bit discouraging, toward the end. But I retired at a good time, and it's always been helpful to me.
Yes. And I know you donated a lot of your skills to the Three-Sided Hole. That's, I think, where
that was
we
a
met
Burning
early.
Man-like community.
Yeah.
And you shared in a lot of that beautiful experience that we had out there. And I think one of the things that really helped me in my later years become more engaged and feel a little less detached from the world was that I got to help, and I facilitated what we called land space, which, if you know the Burning Man community, that's equivalent to a Department of Public Works, or what do they call it? Something like that.
Yeah.
It was basically dealing with the land and structures on the land.
Yeah.
So we had
And helping with power. That was, I know.
we did a lot with power. That's how I actually got into the situations, because they were going to rent, I don't know, a 20,000 watt generator or something. And we were able to eventually build a solar system and run concerts off a battery and inverters instead of having these big, noisy, stinky, dangerous gas-powered generators.
Yeah.
Of course, that big 10,000 one was a diesel-powered generator. But we wired these stages. There was a small area. It was only about 9 acres, remember?
Yeah.
But it was very three-dimensional, and up on the top there was actually a pyramid stage.
Yes.
And the three-sided hole was really a carved-out section of that mountainside where the guy that originally owned it was going to build a house and made the mistake of having the Withdrawals, a famous local band here, play there. And they said, "Oh, no, this is an amphitheater. You have to save this for the people, you know."
Yes.
So that was very cool. And eventually, when I did go to the Burning Man regionals, I ended up teaching workshops on how to do battery inverter power systems yourself, so that you didn't have to bring a generator just to run a little stereo and a few lights and maybe a fan or whatever people wanted. So that was nice. But mostly in that situation, I got to see a total experiential revelation of the big lie that we're kind of told through our lives, which is that you can't trust your neighbor.
Yes.
You know, that people are out to get you, or you know, you need the help of the government and the police and what have you, because these situations we created, they sometimes were called temporary autonomous zones that were really free spaces where almost anything could happen. And possibilities was what I was all about. I was really basically more interested in setting the stage and providing, you know, maybe the background, the amplifiers or whatever, than I was to actually playing the music, you know. And I would do that with the whole, and with these Burning Man regionals, we would build structures and set the stage, and we didn't even know what was going to happen. We had no idea what was going to happen, and that was part of the fun, because the spontaneity in people when they're set free is amazing, and really quite a thing to behold and to share in.
Yes, and
you know.
So like here we are in the world today where those ideas might seem so foreign to some people, and it seems like we're in one of the most divided times where people are so skeptical of their neighbor and this and that. What do you think as far as how can we get to, like, with that type of mentality where people are like, no, your neighbors are, we're here for each other and we're actually on the same side? Is there...
Yeah, see, and again, because it's actually something that people who do not necessarily have our best interests in mind have taught us or have tried to get us to believe, we're deliberately divided and conquered. That's an old technique from Caesar's time to control populations. And what we need to do, of course, is to have more intimate experience, more community support, more communication directly, and not believe all the extreme partisanship is the way things are supposed to be. I mean, I grew up at a time, and I was really a political animal from an early age, because I was interested in how decisions were made and how things got done, and how people worked together. And there used to be a loyal opposition that you could rely on that cared more about the country than their party. And in fact, I don't even talk about the Republican Party anymore. I call it the Rethuglican Party, because they've given up so much of that honor to basically tell a story that separates people. And what's perhaps one of the most bothersome things to reach this age and realize is that there's half the country that lives kind of in a different reality than I do, and that most of my friends do. And they believe things that are really pretty horrible, and have allowed them to vote for people who are really pretty horrible. And the hope that I have is that we will return to understanding and appreciating each other, and return to our appreciation of nature, which I think is one of the big ways that people understand and really have an experience of the truth, of the essence of what it means to be human. And we're divided so much, not only by these political interests, but even by lies of religion that tell us, you know, that the body is no good, that there's always this evil flesh compared to the Holy Spirit, you know. And I just think that if I am one thing, if I try to be one thing, it's an integrated person. I try to bring all those pieces of my life together and live in the moment instead of in some la-la land of mythical or philosophical constructs, you know. And in fact, to me, no philosophy is worth a darn if it doesn't lead to a world that we actually want to live in.
Yes.
I was a libertarian. I ran for office basically to try to counteract the lies about cannabis and to try to talk about relegalization. And now we have lies upon lies that need to be contradicted. But I do think that being honest and maintaining your integrity and not divorcing yourself from nature and from the physical and from your fellow citizens and helpers. Citizens are not, people around the world really are one.
And I think you hit it on the head. I think there's this illusion like that there's this line between half and half. When you take that off, I think what we have in common, we're one in so many more ways than the ways that we're different, I believe.
Yes. And not just to dump on the Republicans, because one thing the Democrats have done by embracing this identity politics stuff is also emphasize or pretend that these divisions between us are real. I mean, there is only one human race. Racism doesn't even make logical sense at all, because if you can interbreed with people and have offspring that are viable, you're in the same race.
Right.
And so by making these racial divisions heightened, and especially by punishing and judging and keeping people down for the color of their skin or their perceived racial differences over the centuries, we've just lost so much and made such a big mistake. And there's so much more potential for this great country, to still achieve, but we have to appreciate everyone for what they bring.
Yes.
And
well, Bruce, you do so much for so many people, and your spirit is very strong, and anyone who knows you feels that and has received the gift of your help and your wisdom. And I think just staying connected, I think that's when we think what can we do is to not give into that division.
That's right.
And to stay excited.
That's
and
right.
to keep things that we're looking forward to, keep things that we care about.
Amen to that. Well, my principal spiritual insight, if I've ever had any, is that we're all interconnected.
Yes.
And that there's one web of life.
Yes.
That we really should all honor, because it is what sustains us and keeps us alive.
Yes.
And if there's any other spiritual insight I have, it's that this is all grace. It's all given to us.
Well, we're blessed to be visitors here.
And if we could be worthy of that, we'll have a great accomplishment.
Yes, yes. Well, we'll keep our hearts open wide and our spirits open and look for the best in each other. And with people like you in this world, I still maintain hope. Is all the stuff I see on the news, this and that, that's all real, but what's the most real is face-to-face conversations and interactions, which...
Yes, and we're still alive.
We're still alive.
And there's hope there.
Yes, all right. Well, Bruce, love you very much. I'm very blessed to know you. And just keep strong, keep your heart wide, keep your music flowing, keep those pianos busy, keep those sweet dogs loved, keep your land tended to.
Yep, and come out and visit.
Yes,
hang out.
Yes, yes.
All right. Love
Bruce
you, Seth.
Bush, love you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
All right, we are here with my friend, performing songwriter Oscar Butler. It's a pleasure and honor to talk with you. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm this year's been an interesting year. I kind of refocused this year. Last year I was really chasing, the whole streaming thing, but this year I've just refocused to where I'm reaching to just contact with people, connect with people. Between the show that I'm doing, the Smooth Like Gravy Gourmet Blues show, which I originally launched in January, but then I put a visual aspect to it with illustrations. Basically, people who are going to be at the show will see a visual set list for each song.
So each song, it'll be like an image or like moving image or what?
Not moving, just a still image, but for each song, it'll represent each song, and they're fun.
Cool.
And then I've been doing that, and then I've been also doing a weekly video show called Behind the Lines, the story in the song, where I take one of my songs and I just break it down, tell about the story about it, about putting it together. And so I've been doing that. I just finished my 21st episode of that.
Awesome, congratulations.
And then I've been really connecting with a newsletter, a weekly newsletter, and it's fun because people who are on my mailing list actually get a lot of the new songs before I even perform them out.
Wow.
So that's been fun. But that's kind of my focus this year. And then I've been doing festivals and trying to get the show onto stages.
Yeah.
But,
Can we hear how did the story start? First, maybe where did you come from, and what was your journey into music? Did it start at a young age?
Well, yeah. Well, I started playing guitar back when I was 10. I was kind of into rock and roll. I had seen this special of the Rolling Stones, and I was thinking, well, I want to be a rocker. But the thing is that I got this guitar when I finally talked my dad into getting me a guitar, and the guitar was so bad that the instructor said I can't learn on it. So I ended up getting it. That one was an electric. Okay. I ended up getting my first acoustic guitar, a little Yamaha acoustic, and started taking lessons from that. And then my sister had the Sweet Baby James, Joni Mitchell albums, and I just loved how James Taylor played.
Yeah.
And so I had asked my instructor to teach me finger picking, and his style was the Mel Bay books and just pattern.
Sure.
Nothing like what James Taylor was doing.
With his finger style, is incredible.
So I ended up just sitting there with the album, just putting the needle back and forth, trying to learn it.
And where were you? This is in?
This is in New York. Well, I grew up in Lower New York State.
Lower New York State. Okay.
Yeah, Lower New York State. It was rural, kind of farmland area.
Okay.
Just about an hour and a half, 2 hours out of the city.
Okay.
And
so there you were with your Yamaha acoustic, listening to the James Taylor, figuring out those. And do you remember the first song that you said, like, all right, I think I've got, at least whether the whole song or just like a certain part? Do you remember a moment?
Well, I think shortly after because when the guy couldn't teach me that type of style, I quit the lessons and started teaching myself.
Yeah.
And I actually signed up to be in a talent show at a local fair. Wow. And I think the first
how old
song,
were you at that?
I was, I think 12.
Wow.
I was about 12.
Oh my gosh.
And
I wish we had some footage of that. And so tell us about that.
And it was good. I learned this song by James Taylor called Long Ago Far Away.
Okay.
And I did that, and then I think the next year I was in a talent show in my 8th grade. It was my 8th grade year in middle school, and my parents had built a house like in another county or another area. Yeah. So I figured if I bombed there, I'd be gone.
That's a good outlook.
But I did that, and that was the first.
What? We're not moving.
Yeah.
And so how did it go?
I actually won it.
Wow.
I actually won it.
Incredible.
But I mean, back then, man, I had stage fright so badly. I mean, when I have stage fright or had stage fright, I would yawn. I would just keep yawning. My eyes would water. And so it looked like I was sobbing for days when I walked out on the stage. But
so how did you overcome that, or is there still elements of that?
No, not anymore. I played, and the thing was like when I got into high school, I really nobody knew that I played. And so I kind of went through high school without really performing or anything. Got into college and started performing a little bit.
And then you ever run into people from high school? They're like, "What? You played music?"
Well, I think I don't know if they've actually said that, but nobody knew. I mean, I'm in touch with a lot of people from my high school.
Yeah.
But now that's what I put up on online, and they see.
And so back then, at that age, were you thinking like, "This is what I want to do with my life"?
Well, when I got out of high school, I actually went to college. I wanted to get into performing arts as a musician. And I got into there, and I spent probably a semester and a half and didn't think I had any talent. And so I ended up dropping that and then getting into computers, into computer science. And it wasn't until later on when first time I lived in Boston, or actually the second time I lived in Boston, I was on the subway, saw somebody playing the streets, and I said, let me try that. Yeah. And so I went out with just my guitar in the subway and played, and I actually made some money. And within probably a week, I had enough money to buy a small PA system.
How about that?
And said, well, okay,
there's nothing like buying something that you earned from music.
Wow.
Well, speaking of music, I'd sure love to hear one of your songs. Which song are you gonna start us out with?
This
today?
One's called "Keep It Simple." Keep it simple, and it's kind of like my, I think about my life and all the stuff that's going on around, and I just want to I try to stay simple. I try to avoid so much negative stuff in life. And so
it's not easy these days.
Yeah.
It's being blasted at us all the
Yep.
time.
And so that's kind of what this
All
first
right.
song is about.
All
is
right.
keeping it simple.
All right. So keep it simple.
Yep.
All right. Let's check it out.
I don't drive no fancy car. I don't live beyond my means. I don't need expensive clothes, 'cause I love my Walmart jeans. And when I bake my money, I always put some away. My ends get met just fine when I do it every day. I like to keep it simple. That's the way I like to live. I like to keep it simple. Then I'll always have a little more to give. I don't want to know your business, and you don't need to know mine. If I don't know your politics, well, my day will be just fine. But if there's a pressing need to tell me things I don't want to know, to apply for the opinion, make sure you wipe before you go. I like to keep it simple. That's the way I like to live. I like to keep it simple. Then I'll always have a little more to give, yes. Now we used to love thy neighbor, but now we've all become so crass. Ethics and our morals seem so different from my past. And maybe we don't see, or maybe we just don't care about the way folks treat each other. It's a way I just can't bear now. I like to keep it simple. That's the way I like to live. I like to keep it simple. Then I'll always have a little more to give, yes. I don't drive no fancy car. I don't live beyond my means. I don't need expensive clothes, 'cause I love my Walmart jeans. And when I make my money, I always put some away. My ends get met just fine when I do it every day. I like to keep it simple. That's the way I like to live. I like to keep it simple. Then I'll always have a little more to give, yeah. I like to keep it simple. That's the way I love to live. I like to keep it simple. Then I'll always have a little more to give, yes. A little more to give if I keep it simple.
All right. Well, I love that song, and I can relate to it. I think many people can relate to that because, like we said, there's so much negativity and division. And I like that, as far as your politics. Listen, we could talk. There's a lot of other things to talk about. Not to say, oh, you can't talk about this, but tell us about your songwriting process. Like, how did that song come into this world?
Well, my process is awful.
Is that right?
Well, no, I say that simply because I get very little sleep. Every night, and it's pretty much happens every night, around maybe 10:30, I'll start telling myself, Oscar, you need to go to bed.
Yeah.
You know, and I'll be working on stuff. And just as I'm getting ready to go to bed, I never fail to pick up my guitar. And once I pick up the guitar, I'll start fiddling around. I'll come up with some little groove, which my process usually starts with a little instrumental groove.
Sure, yeah.
And then I'll come up with a line, and by 2 o'clock, I've written a song, but 2 o'clock, and then I'm up by 6. I'm up usually by 6 because I do personal training, and I have a couple clients that I train that early. Yeah. But I mean, I just write like that, and it pours out of me. Yeah. I have this shirt that says 99.99% of my brain is song lyrics. And the person that got that for me, I thought, well, that's a cool shirt. But then I was wearing it one day, and I was thinking how I look at life. And I really look at life in a very lyrical way.
Yeah, yeah.
And songs, I can come up with songs for almost anything.
Yeah, like with something, you'll be in line, and someone will do something, like, oh, someone will say something, and then...
Yeah.
Do you keep like a notebook, or is it on your phone, or what? Are you a pencil and paper?
Well, it's kind of a combination. Like at night when I come up with the groove in a line, and again, a lot of times I'll just write the whole song within maybe an hour, 2-hour period. But what I'll do, the first thing I'll do is I'll just record it, the first couple of lines on my phone. Just so in case I don't finish it, I'll come back and I know how it goes. And so I've got tons of those on my phone.
Right. So you could stop writing today, and you'll have endless material to work with.
I mean, well, the thing was, it's like with my with the video series that I'm doing. My thought was, well, I'll just go back and do all of a lot of my old songs. Just go through those. Yeah. But I end up writing new songs. Like I just wrote a new song a couple of days ago that's what my 21st episode is going to be about, this new song that I haven't even performed anywhere yet. Yeah. And so I just keep writing more and more stuff. And even when it comes to the show, I think, well, if it's an hour show, maybe, if I'm doing a little bit of storytelling with it, maybe 10 songs. But I've got like, I think 20 images already and 20 songs that I've just now put out. And it's like, well, I got to decide what's going to go in the show. So I figure each show is going to be pretty different. Based on what songs I'm going to use. Yeah.
And do you have like a vision? Is it like right now just like let's flow, see where it's going, or do you have a vision or a dream of like what you would love to see happen with your music or with your career? Like what thoughts go on in your mind?
Well, my big goal is, again, I want to get on stages. Like when I launched the one in January, it was at the Quichette Dance. They have a beautiful black box theater over there, and it's so cool. So I'm thinking of going back there, and I considered the African American Performing Arts Center, although I've been advised not to right now because they're having some political stuff within the company. Gotcha. But stages like that, and then I'm getting on right now. I'm going to be doing some festivals where I'll be sharing a lot of shows. But basically that show is where, the images are going to be projected behind me.
And I was going to ask, where do the images come from? Do you create the images or something?
I create them. I use AI to help create them. It's interesting though, because what I do is I feed my lyrics into it.
Okay.
Wow. And it's interesting. And then, I ask for a particular style of art to put out, which I've had some controversy on that with some people.
How do you mean?
Well, just some people that I know are just totally against AI. Sure. Now, last year I dealt with that in that, of course, AI starts coming out. You think, well, shoot, am I competing with people making music? And now it's really coming out there.
I know, what a world. Wow.
But what I did, I sat down one day and I talked to my daughter, who's an artist, just asking her about AI. And what she said was, Dad, you should know your enemy. So what I did was I sat down, I got an AI software, and I sat there and I tried to recreate my style of music. Was not happy with it. Nothing I could do came out to what I create, and I just feel confident. I don't care, if people want to try to create stuff that is like mine, that's fine. But and which is another reason why I want to get connected with my people is because they know that what I'm giving them is from me. So I'm not really worried. And there have been, I'm getting these things on my phone where you can create songs in 2 minutes, and it's like, It's here.
I feel like just as there's something special the human soul can create, there's something that the human soul can recognize too. That it's going to be all these things. There'll be this wave of polished things, but there's going to be something in time that be like, there's something that's missing. That it's not that it doesn't sound good, not that it doesn't sound great, but there's something about the true emotion of a human soul that can't be replicated.
Well, you know what that makes me think about is like CDs. You know, when CDs came out, it's like, wow, this sound is perfect. It's so pure. Right. And now what are people getting into? Albums. Yeah, exactly. They're back to having that scratchy sound on the album because that's real.
That's real authentic. It's an experience. Yeah.
But
incredible. So along your musical journey in life, I imagine there's been challenges, excitement, things. What's your journey been like? I mean, anything that comes to mind to share about as far as?
Well, it's challenging. Back in 2017, I had this great job, and it was a nonprofit job, great job, benefits and everything, but it was beating me down badly. And I had read this book, which I won't say here, but it's this great book, and in one chapter it says, well, when you're on your dying bed, are you going to be regretting not having done the passion of your life? And I was in tears because I could see myself there, because I always loved music, but I never put everything into it. I always went with the easy way, which was like, for me, fitness. I could do that easy and make money. And I just decided, you know what, I'm just going to do it. And I put in my month notice and decided to become a full-time musician. And so that's been a journey for me. And I just, something that Livingston Taylor said was, well, you do what you do because it's the only thing you know. And that's the attitude that I've taken on. This is what I know. And this is what I'm good at.
And what do you love most about being a performing songwriter?
People. The people I perform with, that I can affect them and change their lives. And that's the biggest thing with my performances. That's why I say I'm a performing songwriter, is because I want people to see my songs within me. I want them to enjoy not just hearing the music, but watching me do it. And I've had so many people say that when they see me perform, because I try to put everything. I practice in front of the mirror, just giving lines, certain lines. If it doesn't fit, if it doesn't look good to me, I'll change it. But just affecting people and making people feel, get them out of the crap that they might be in, even for an hour. Because the world is crazy. We're dealing with a lot of stuff, and if I can just lighten that up for a minute or two for them, that works for me.
And how do you do when you're? I imagine I felt this, and I imagine you felt this. That sometimes life seems easier. It makes more sense when you've got your guitar in your hand and you're on the stage, and it just seems like things make sense. As far as your purpose. How do you get through the rest of the time? Going to the store, just other things when, it's almost like your guitar. It's almost like a magical weapon of goodness, because it's like this of protection and of giving. I don't know if you could speak a little bit about just existing in the world when you're not doing that.
When I'm not doing that, it's tough. I have my internal conversations are crazy that I never want to broadcast them. But it's like, I recognize a lot of the junk that I deal with, and the way, like you said, with when I pick up my guitar, the world is better. I think lyrically, I'll look at things and I'll think, well, gosh, a song about that, or a lot of it's just maybe listening to music that I like that changes, makes me feel better.
What's some of the music when you're not listening to songs you're working on yourself? What's some other artists or music that you are playing? What's the soundtrack of your life?
It's interesting because I grew up, like I said, James Taylor was a big influence, and I probably knew every James Taylor song, and I sang them very well. And so like now, I've found my own voice. I've really gotten into the blues, into the Delta style blues, And so I listened to like Keb Mo. I love Keb Mo.
Yeah.
Keb Mo is very positive. I mean,
Yeah.
him and Taj Mahal. I grew up listening to like Joni Mitchell, Sean Colvin, Carole King, those people, which they got me through a lot of deep stuff in my life. But now mostly I listen to stuff that, you know, it can be deep, but I just, songwriting, the specific songwriting I really love. I don't know if you know Jonathan Brooke.
I'm not.
She, when I was in Boston, I got turned on to The Story. They used to be The Story, but she's on her own. But I love her stuff.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'll listen to that. Even when I'm working out, I'll listen to stuff that just makes me feel good.
Yeah.
And in fact, Jonathan Brooke did this song that I loved by her, but she did it with Keb Mo, and I didn't even know it.
Yeah.
When I first saw her do it, it was on a YouTube concert that she was doing, and she had been allowed into the, I think, Woody Guthrie archives.
Wow.
And she was talking about that, and there was this one statement that he made, and she turned it into a song. And you know, I heard it, and I loved watching that. And then when I heard the album come out, and she did it with Keb Mo, it's like, these are two of my favorite people.
Wow.
And it's like I'll do my exercise listening to that song over and over again because it just makes me feel good.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to do for people, is make them feel
Yeah.
that.
Be a source of good.
Yeah.
And so when you hear like those two together, do you ever think like, oh, I'd like to do some collaboration? Do you prefer? Does it work best for what you do being solo, or do you ever think, you know what, I'd like to collaborate with another man or another woman or a band or anything? Does that cross your mind?
I've never been in a band, never collaborated with anybody, and I don't know if I do. I don't right now, because of my songwriting process.
It's 1 a.m. Come on over.
I don't know if I would, and it's funny, and I don't mean to say this in an egotistical way, but you know, when people ask me who my favorite songwriters are, me.
Beautiful.
Because it took me a long time to get there, because for years I never thought I could write music. I never thought I could write songs, and now I just absolutely love the way and what I write.
Yeah.
And but I've actually considered, I mean, especially after hearing Jonathan Brooke and Keb Mo, it's like, that would be interesting to find somebody who could fit with me like that.
Yeah, yeah. But maybe you'd have like something, and then the suggestion is like, oh, and then I didn't think about taking it this way, or maybe you'd have a suggestion, or
that's true.
Or even throwing a harmony or something. I don't know. I know what you mean though, about as far as like a process that's working on your own. And this is, you know, it's not like you're struggling for material.
Yeah. Well, you know, too, one thing as far as like jamming and collaborating was, I don't consider myself an incredibly great musician. You know, I can play the guitar. I always say, well, you know, I'm good at accompanying myself with my guitar.
Sure.
But to sit down with someone who knows what they're doing, I feel totally out of place.
Okay.
And that's probably something I just need to get over.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Wow. And so, you played a lot, James Taylor and all these songs. Do you recall, I'm guessing you do, your first song, the first time you thought, okay, I'm gonna write a song? Like, there's all these great songs out there, but I'm gonna put a song in the world. Like, what was that?
I think the first one I wrote was this song called Daddy's Deuce and a Quarter. It was about my dad's Buick Electra 225. In fact, I did an episode on Behind the Lines on that.
On your first song?
Yeah. And I think that was probably my first song.
And where were you in your musical journey when you wrote that? As far as how old were you?
Well, this was probably, because where was it? I think I was here. I think I had moved here. I moved here in '91, and it was probably maybe '92 or so when I decided to record my first album cassette.
Okay. Yeah.
And that was, and I think it was probably around there. And because what I did was, when I moved here from Boston, I owe my songwriting, I guess, intelligence to hanging out at Berklee School of Music library and bookstore, and I just started reading all kinds of stuff on that. And so when I got here, I actually applied to teach a class at UNM Continuing Education on songwriting. Okay. And that's something I did.
Very cool. Wow.
But
amazing. And so you've played in Albuquerque. Is that like where you've kind of had your most experience? I know you've done some traveling. What can you speak to as far as like the music scene of Albuquerque, or as far as being part of it, or other musicians you see? What's been your experience with that?
Well, there are so many great musicians here, you being one of them.
Thank you.
But when I first got here, I wasn't planning to play music.
Okay.
I actually got here because I was thinking, well, Albuquerque is just a big country western town.
Yeah.
And again, this was back in '91. And so I didn't play for probably almost 6 months to a year.
Wow.
But I had a job that was so bad.
Okay.
And luckily, it made me just say, I can't work here anymore. So the first place I ended up playing here was down at the flea market. I went down there and asked him if I could set up and play
Is that right?
on the flea market. And that's where I first started playing.
Wow. So see, sometimes we're gonna think, oh, why do I have this job I don't like? When really it was a gift to you that you didn't like that
now
job.
I look at that, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember EJ's?
I know the name. I can't picture. I don't know.
I couldn't remember that. Somebody was asking me, but that was another. That was where it's
Anodyne?
Annapurna.
Oh, Annapurna.
Annapurna.
Yeah. That one over in Silver.
Yeah, that used to be EJ's.
Yes.
And they
I
used
know
to
that
have
went
an
through
open
many
mic.
places. It was like Cameron's. It was this. It was all. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
But that was probably one of the first inside places I played.
Yes.
And they just had this little open mic, and
Yeah.
I'll run into people who remember me from there.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, it's been quite an incredible journey, and like good songs, they come from not always easy times and not always things just going as we hope, but just reflecting on them. And tell us a little bit about the song you're gonna take us out with.
Oh, I think I heard someone say this line, and I don't even remember, but I just hung on to it and went home one night, and that was one of my late night writing sessions. But they said, I thought getting old was going to take longer than this. And I thought, what a great line. And so I just took that and ran with it. But that's the thing, when you're young, you don't think about being old.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, shoot, I'm 65, and it's like, whoa, how did I get here? And
well, I'm sure anyone out there, they're like, please let me be like this man when I'm 65, because I would never have in a million years guessed that you were 65.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
But
Right, here you are, like, how did that happen? The numbers don't lie. I guess that's what my license says. God.
Well, it's funny because when I hit 50, and I was a big racquetball player. I loved racquetball.
Me too. I wish we would have played back then.
And when I hit 50, I got this magazine just out of the blue called Geezer Jock. Geezer Jock.
Maybe that's another song title, perhaps.
But yeah, and then of course the AARP letters start coming in after that. But yeah, Geezer Jock. I think I still have that somewhere.
That's classic. All right. Well, just from hearing your songs, I think I've heard your songs over the years and liked them, but I think these new ones are if you please come and check this guy out live, because there's something about your songs that you're going to hear something that you identify with, which is, I think, a wonderful goal and accomplishment of a song, to hear somebody say something, I felt that way, but I didn't know how to say it, and to be able to give people a gift like that through your music is very special. So tell the name of the song again.
Old Age Wasn't Meant for Me.
Old Age Wasn't Meant for Me. All right. Well, we've been chatting with Oscar Butler. We're going to enjoy this song that we will hopefully all be able to relate with in some time in our life. And definitely check out your live show. And in the description, we're going to have all kinds of links where you can find Oscar's music and his performances. But Oscar, thank you so much for being here.
Seth.
It's been a real pleasure and honor. And we are going to look forward to this awesome song.
Okay.
All right.
I thought that getting old would take much longer than this. I wonder, did I doze off for 3 decades I seem to have missed? When I used to party, well, I'd stay out until 2. Now at this age, my back goes out a lot more than I do. I think old age was was never meant for me. I've got gray hair growing in places I never thought it would be. Whoever leaked my information to AARP, they didn't know old age was never meant for me now. I've got 15 pair of glasses for wherever I need to read. I sleep next to the bathroom for all the trips at night I may need. When I walk into a room, stop, look around and sigh. I know I'm there for a reason, but I don't remember why. I think old age was never meant for me. I've got gray hair growing in places I never thought I would see. Whoever leaked my information to AARP, they didn't know old age was never meant for me. No, no. I've tried online dating, hoping not to die alone. I've got an app for the over 50, downloaded on my phone. I dream to find a companion to cuddle with in my bed. But the truth is that I can save a little cash with a group rate on my meds. I think old age was never meant for me. I've got gray growing in places that till now has been hair free. Whoever leaked my information to AARP, they didn't know old age was never meant for me. No, 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 no. They didn't know old age was never meant for me. They didn't know old age was never meant for me. No.